Just a reminder, guys, if you are subscribed and turn on my notifications, you have entered for a chance to win a PlayStation 5. That's a free $500 that you could potentially win just by subscribing and turning on my notifications on this channel. Whether you're an old subscriber or a new subscriber, we have additional giveaways for PS5s going up on Twitter and Instagram. Links to those are in the description down below. And even more importantly, my voice is literally on its last hands, man. This is our fourth video of the day between my NFL channel and my NBA channel, and we're gonna be live streaming on Twitch after. A link to Twitch is in the description down below, twitch.tv/TheFlightMike. I just want to let you guys know, man, we're doing our very first merch drop on TheFlightMike.com. A link to that's in the description down below. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Guys, one of the most underrated players that I feel like no one's talking about that is probably going to be a hot commodity on the trade market is Victor Oladipo, because we all know that there's a pretty good chance that Victor Oladipo isn't going to return to the Indiana Pacers next year. The Pacers might have a little bit of a fire sale or may want to just rebuild around Malcolm Brogdon and Miles Turner. And at this point in Victor Oladipo's career, this is his contract that gives him the best window of opportunity to win an NBA championship. And honestly, I actually really like him as a trade candidate way better than Bradley Beal. Not in terms of skill, but I feel like he'd be a way better complementary player on a championship team, and he'd be way easier to attain without having to give up as much capital to acquire him. Now, we all know that this year's free agency class is mainly not the greatest free agency class. No offense to Fred VanVleet and Andre Drummond, but you have players like Andre Drummond that are expecting a max contract to be offered to them, but it's probably not going to happen because Andre Drummond's skill set is not really compatible with today's NBA. You could acquire a very cheap alley-oop target or a rim defender through other means, and you don't really want to spend a max contract on a player like that. Fred VanVleet, on the other hand, is probably going to get the bag from a team. Probably the Toronto Raptors is what I'm hearing, so that means the trade market is probably your best way of getting yourself a new player. Now, we made a video earlier today on Russell Westbrook and James Harden, and the Houston Rockets owner commenting on whether Russell Westbrook or James Harden is going to get traded. A link to that is going to be at the end screen if you missed it. But in addition to that, we have some news regarding Victor Oladipo. Now, the Miami Heat have made it no secret that they're going to do whatever it takes to improve their roster, and they're definitely one of the top destinations in the entire NBA because they have the easiest path to making it to the NBA Finals. Honestly, no offense to Celtic fans or Milwaukee Bucks fans or Brooklyn Nets fans, but I feel like it's way easier for the Miami Heat to make it to the NBA Finals if they acquire themselves another star like Victor Oladipo to put him next to Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Duncan Robinson, and to be coached by a very savvy coach, without a doubt a top 3 coach in the league, in Eric Spoelstra. And while if you do go and try to trade with the Washington Wizards for Bradley Beal, they'll probably demand a plethora of assets. A trade for Victor Oladipo would probably be significantly cheaper because his contract is set to expire in the 2021 offseason, and his contract is way cheaper. He's only making $21 million this year. Bradley Beal, on the other hand, is making $28 million this year, and that's before his contract extension kicks in. You see, after he makes $28 million this year, he's going to make $34 million the year after and $37 million the year after that before hitting free agency in 2023. Now, don't get it twisted. Whoever does try to trade for Victor Oladipo is probably going to be taking on a huge risk because Victor Oladipo could get traded to the team. You could give up a decent amount of assets for him, and then he could just walk away in free agency. So a lot of things that you have to take into consideration here if you're a team that's interested in trading for Victor Oladipo. So far, however, it's been a fairly interesting potential trade market for Victor Oladipo because he came out and literally said, and this has been a thing for like months and months, I've even heard this past offseason, but I've known that Victor Oladipo wants to go to the Miami Heat even before the Miami Heat really emerged as a destination. And there's also another team that is a potential trade trade suitor for him, and we're going to get to that in a second. But what's really interesting about the Miami Heat is Victor Oladipo is reportedly wanting to really go to the Miami Heat. Now, here's the awkward thing about Victor Oladipo wanting to go to Miami. According to Brian Windhorst, which in my opinion, and I'm sure we could all agree, is a very reputable source and insider whenever it comes to basketball, Victor Oladipo has been connected to the Miami Heat for months now, but the Miami Heat aren't really as interested in Victor Oladipo as Victor Oladipo is interested in the Miami Heat. Now, you might be wondering why. Well, Brian Windhorst continues to say that Victor Oladipo's value coincides with an assessment that was made by ESPN's Tim Bontemps, who says, "I think it's unlikely Oladipo gets traded because of how weird his past year has been. He's both coming back from the injury and frankly he's not very good after coming back from the injury. And from talking to people around the league, I don't think his value is nearly as high as his name brand would suggest at the moment. And I think it's more likely that the Pacers go into the season and either hope he plays really well and they do great and he decides to stay, or that he plays better and they maybe trade him later when his value goes up soon." Which is a very interesting take, because if you do remember when Victor Oladipo came back, he didn't really play so well. And I think that's a huge reason why he was so hesitant to return and play in the NBA bubble. I originally thought it was because he was done with the Indiana Pacers organization, but when you look at the statistics, Victor Oladipo didn't really look so good after being out of basketball for about a year. At the same time, he was out of basketball for about a year after sustaining a pretty freak injury. And the Indiana Pacers may feel a little awkward about trading him when his value is at rock bottom, but this also provides a nice opportunity for teams that want to buy low on a player that is probably going to leave the Indiana Pacers soon. So it depends on your risk profile if you're the Miami Heat. Now, once again, there's another team interested in Victor Oladipo, and we're going to get to that in a second, but another thing that you have to take into consideration is, why would the Miami Heat trade for Victor Oladipo when they have Tyler Hero? Tyler Hero did remarkable during his first year in the NBA, and he's on a rookie scale contract. It's ridiculous to pay an additional $16 million to take a chance on a player that might not be nearly as good as he once was. And then you're left with Victor Oladipo's contract, and you keep thinking, what if we decided to invest that money elsewhere instead of trading for Victor Oladipo? And I just don't see Pat Riley and the Miami Heat taking this risk. But a team that I do see potentially taking this risk is the other team that is linked to Victor Oladipo, which is the Milwaukee Bucks. And this rumor is according to ESPN NBA insider Zach Lowe, who suggested that the Milwaukee Bucks may take a serious look at bringing him in, obviously in hopes of providing Giannis Antetokounmpo with some additional firepower. Now, the direct quote goes like this: "I'll give you a team I'm keeping an eye on with Victor Oladipo. Milwaukee, just keeping my eye on them. That's all I'm saying, and that's all I'm going to say." Now, if you ask me, I think the Milwaukee Bucks are a little bit more likely to trade for Victor Oladipo than the Miami Heat, just simply because they're a little bit more desperate to appease Giannis Antetokounmpo and put some better pieces around him. But I also don't understand how a starting lineup of Victor Oladipo, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe, and Brook Lopez would work out. So I'm a little bit skeptical for both teams. At the end of the day, these are the two most likely teams to trade for Victor Oladipo. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think? Do you think Victor Oladipo is going to stay a Pacer, or do you think he's going to be a member of the Miami Heat or Milwaukee Bucks by the end of this offseason? Aside from that, I'm your boy, TheFlightMike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.